Hello everyone. My name is Catherine and I want to tell you about the night that changed my life forever. This is a story about family rejection, finding your worth, and proving that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. It's about the moment I stopped trying to earn love from people who would never give it, and started building a life they never expected. I am 33 years old now, but this story begins when I was 28. I need to explain my family first so you understand why that dinner was so painful. I grew up as the middle child in a family of 5 children. I have 2 older brothers, James and Robert. I have 2 younger sisters, Diana and Patricia. From the time I was young, I felt invisible in my family. My older brothers were the golden children. They were athletic, popular, and confident. My parents were so proud of them. Every achievement was celebrated. Every game was attended. Every accomplishment was praised. My younger sisters were the babies of the family. They were cute and charming. My parents doted on them. They got special attention, special treatment, special everything. And then there was me, Catherine. The middle child. The quiet one. The one nobody really noticed. I wasn't bad at anything, but I wasn't exceptional either. I got decent grades but not perfect ones. I played piano but I wasn't a prodigy. I tried sports but I wasn't a star athlete. I was just average. Forgettable. My parents never said they loved me less, but their actions showed it. When I had a piano recital, they came but left early to attend my brother's basketball game. When I made the honor roll, they said "That's nice, dear," and moved on to talk about my sister's dance performance. When I needed help with homework, they were too busy helping my siblings. I learned to be self-sufficient. I learned not to need anyone. I learned to be okay with being alone. When I graduated from high school, I went to a state university. Nothing fancy. My brothers had gone to prestigious schools. My parents had saved money for their education. But when it was my turn, they said money was tight. I could go to the cheaper state school. I didn't complain. I just went. I studied business administration. I worked part-time to pay for my expenses. I graduated with decent grades and got a regular job at a corporate office. Nothing exciting. Nothing impressive. Just a normal job. My family barely acknowledged my graduation. They didn't throw a party like they did for my brothers. They sent a card with $50. That was it. I moved to a different city for my job. I rented a small apartment. I built a quiet life. I came home for holidays and family gatherings, but I always felt like a guest. Like someone who was invited out of obligation rather than genuine desire for my presence. Over the years, I climbed slowly up the corporate ladder. I worked hard. I was reliable. I was competent. I got promotions but nothing dramatic. Just steady progress. I lived frugally. I saved money. I invested wisely. I didn't have an exciting life, but I was building something solid. Something stable. My family didn't really know much about my life. When I came home for visits, they never asked meaningful questions. "How's work?" they would say. "Fine," I would answer. And that would be the end of it. They were much more interested in my brothers' careers, my sister's relationships, everyone else's lives. I was just Catherine. Boring, invisible Catherine. 5 years ago, when I was 28, my parents invited the whole family for a big dinner. It was my father's 60th birthday. Everyone was supposed to come. All 5 children and their partners if they had them. It was going to be a big celebration at my parents' house. I drove 3 hours to attend. I brought an expensive gift for my father. A nice watch he had mentioned wanting. I arrived at my parents' house and everyone was already there. My brothers with their wives. My sisters with their boyfriends. Everyone was laughing and talking. I walked in and a few people said hello, but mostly I was ignored. I sat down at the dinner table. The conversation flowed around me. My brother James talked about his new promotion to senior manager. Everyone congratulated him. My brother Robert talked about buying a new house. Everyone was impressed. My sister Diana announced she was engaged. Everyone celebrated. My sister Patricia showed photos from her vacation to Italy. Everyone admired them. Then my mother looked at me. "And Catherine, what's new with you?" she asked, almost as an afterthought. I thought about telling them about my recent promotion to director level at my company. I thought about mentioning that I had just finished paying off my student loans. I thought about sharing that I had been investing and building savings. But something in my mother's tone made me hesitate. She didn't really want to know. She was just being polite. "Nothing much," I said quietly. "Same as always." My father laughed. Not a kind laugh. A dismissive laugh. "That's our Catherine. Always the same. Never anything exciting happening." Everyone at the table chuckled. I felt my face turn red. My brother James spoke up. "Well, not everyone can be high achievers like some of us." His wife added, "That's okay. The world needs regular people too." My sister Diana smiled at me with fake sympathy. "Don't feel bad, Catherine. You're doing fine for someone with your limitations." Limitations? What limitations? I wanted to ask, but I stayed quiet. Then my mother said something that I will never forget. She looked at me with pity in her eyes and said, "Catherine, honey, we've been talking as a family. We know you're alone. You don't have a partner. You don't have children. You have that little job. We were thinking, maybe when your father and I get older and need help, you could move back home and take care of us. Since nobody really needs you where you are, you could be useful here." The table went silent for a moment. Then my father nodded. "That's actually a good idea. Catherine doesn't have much going on in her life. She could be our caretaker. Live in help. It would give her purpose." I sat there in shock. "Nobody needs you." Those words echoed in my head. My own parents thought nobody needed me. They thought my life was so empty, so meaningless, that I should just give it up to become their servant. My siblings didn't defend me. They just nodded like this was a reasonable plan. Like my life didn't matter. Like I was just a resource to be used when convenient. I felt tears starting to form in my eyes. But I refused to cry in front of them. Instead, I did something I had never done before. I smiled. A genuine smile. Because in that moment, something inside me changed. I realized that I had been seeking approval from people who would never give it. I had been trying to matter to people who would never see my worth. And I was done. I was completely done. "That's an interesting idea," I said calmly. Everyone looked surprised that I was smiling. They expected me to cry or argue. But I'll have to decline. "You see, I have other plans for my life." My mother frowned. "What plans? You just said nothing new is happening with you." I stood up from the table. I lied. "Actually, many things are happening with me. I just realized that none of you care enough to know. So why should I share?" My father looked annoyed. "Don't be dramatic, Catherine. Sit down and finish dinner." I shook my head. "No, I don't think I will. Thank you for making something very clear to me tonight. You think nobody needs me. You think I'm not important. You think my life is small and meaningless. Well, you're right about one thing. Nobody here needs me. But that's because I've been wasting my time trying to be part of a family that doesn't value me. That ends tonight." My brother Robert laughed. "Oh come on, Catherine. Stop being so sensitive. We're just being practical." I looked at him. "Practical? You want me to give up my career, my home, my life to become your parents' caretaker because you assume I have nothing better to do? That's not practical. That's insulting." I picked up my purse and my car keys. "I'm leaving now. Don't expect me at the next family gathering. Actually, don't expect me ever again. You're all right. Nobody here needs me. But I finally realized that I don't need you either. Goodbye." I walked out of that house. Behind me, I heard my mother calling, "Catherine, come back. Don't be ridiculous." But I didn't go back. I got in my car and I drove away. I drove back to my city with tears streaming down my face. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief. Relief that I finally had permission to stop trying. Permission to let go of people who never truly wanted me. That night in my apartment, I made a decision. I was going to build a life so successful, so fulfilling, so amazing that nobody could ever call me unimportant again. Not because I needed to prove anything to my family, but because I needed to prove something to myself. I needed to prove that I mattered. The next morning, I started making changes. Big changes. First, I looked at my career with fresh eyes. I was a director at my company, but I had been playing it safe. Never taking risks. Never pushing for more. I decided that was over. I started speaking up in meetings. I started proposing bold ideas. I started volunteering for challenging projects that others avoided. My bosses noticed. Within 6 months, I was promoted to senior director. Within a year, I was vice president. I was making more money than I ever imagined. But more importantly, I was doing work that mattered. Work that challenged me. Work that made me feel alive. Second, I invested heavily in myself. I took courses to improve my skills. I hired a personal trainer and got in the best shape of my life. I updated my wardrobe. I got a better apartment in a nicer building. I traveled to places I had always wanted to see but thought I couldn't afford. Italy, Japan, New Zealand. I went alone and I loved every moment. I discovered that I enjoyed my own company. Third, I built real friendships. I had always been so focused on trying to connect with my family that I never invested in other relationships. I started saying yes to social invitations. I joined a book club. I volunteered at a local charity. I met people who actually appreciated me. People who wanted to spend time with me. People who saw my value. For the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. During all of this, my family tried to contact me several times. My mother called and left voicemails. "Catherine, this is silly. Come home for Thanksgiving. Don't be stubborn." I deleted the messages without responding. My sisters sent text messages saying I was overreacting. I blocked their numbers. My brothers sent emails saying I was being immature. I sent them to spam. I was done. Completely done. 2 years after that terrible dinner, something wonderful happened. I met someone. His name was David. He was a consultant who worked with my company on a project. We started talking during meetings. Then we started having lunch together. Then dinner. Then we were dating. David was different from anyone I had ever known. He was interested in me. Really interested. He asked questions about my life, my thoughts, my dreams. He listened to my answers. He valued my opinions. He made me feel seen. I told him about my family eventually. About feeling invisible my whole life. About that terrible dinner. About cutting them off completely. He held my hand and said, "Their inability to see your worth says everything about them and nothing about you. You're incredible, Catherine. I'm grateful every day that they were too blind to see it, because it means I get to be with you." 6 months later, he proposed. I said yes. We planned a small, intimate wedding. Just close friends and David's family, who had welcomed me with open arms. His parents treated me like a daughter. His siblings included me in everything. I finally understood what real family felt like. We sent no invitations to my biological family. We told no one from my past. It was my day, and I wanted it filled only with people who truly cared about me. The wedding was beautiful. Simple but elegant. I felt happy in a way I never had before. I married a man who loved me. I was surrounded by people who valued me. I had built a life that was mine. A life that nobody could dismiss or minimize. After the wedding, David and I bought a house together. A beautiful house in a great neighborhood. We both had successful careers. We traveled together. We built a life filled with love and respect and partnership. I was happy. Truly happy. 3 years after I walked out of that family dinner, something unexpected happened. I was at a work conference in my hometown. I was there as a keynote speaker. I was being honored as one of the top young executives in my industry. After my speech, I went to dinner at a nice restaurant with some colleagues. And there, at a table across the room, was my entire family. They were having dinner together. One of them saw me and I watched the recognition spread across their faces. They stared. They whispered to each other. They looked shocked. My mother stood up and walked over to my table. "Catherine, is that really you?" I looked up from my conversation. "Hello, Mother." She looked at me with wide eyes. I was wearing an expensive designer suit. I had a confident posture. I looked successful because I was successful. "You look so different," she said. "What are you doing here?" I gestured to my colleagues. I was the keynote speaker at the Regional Business Leadership Conference today. "We're having a dinner to celebrate." Her mouth dropped open. "You were the keynote speaker? But you're just a..." She stopped herself. I smiled. "Just a what?" "Just boring Catherine with nothing going on. Just someone nobody needs." My colleagues looked confused. One of them spoke up. "Are you kidding? Catherine is one of the most respected executives in our field. She's been featured in 3 major business magazines this year. Everyone wants to work with her." My mother looked embarrassed. "I didn't know. You never told us." I laughed quietly. "You never asked. And after that dinner 3 years ago, I decided you didn't deserve to know." My father had walked over now too. "Catherine, that dinner was just a misunderstanding. We didn't mean anything by it." I stood up so I could look him in the eye. "You told me nobody needed me. You said I should give up my life to be your caretaker because I had nothing important going on. Do you remember that?" He looked uncomfortable. "We were just thinking practically," I interrupted him. "No. You were thinking that I was worthless. That my life didn't matter. That I could be used for your convenience. You were wrong. It turns out many people need me. My company needs me. My clients need me. My friends need me. My husband needs me. The only people who don't need me are the people who never valued me in the first place." My mother gasped. "Husband? You're married?" I showed her my wedding ring. "Yes. For 2 years now. To a wonderful man who actually sees my worth. We have a beautiful life together." My siblings had gathered around now. They all looked shocked. My brother James said, "Catherine, we're sorry. We didn't realize how successful you had become. Maybe we can reconnect. Start over." I looked at all of them. These people who ignored me my whole life. These people who made me feel invisible and worthless. These people who only wanted to know me now that I was successful. "No," I said simply. "I don't think so. You see, I learned something important after I left that dinner. I learned that my worth doesn't depend on whether you recognize it. I learned that I don't need validation from people who only value me when I achieve things they understand. I learned that real family are the people who see you, who value you, who love you even when you're not impressive or accomplished or useful to them." I picked up my purse. I have that now. I have people who loved me when I was just regular Catherine with a regular job and a quiet life. People who didn't need me to be extraordinary to deserve their love. That's not you. That will never be you. My mother started crying. "Please, Catherine. We're your family. Blood is blood." I shook my head. "No. Biology is biology. Family is choice. And I'm choosing to have a family that actually chooses me back. Goodbye." I walked out of that restaurant with my head held high. My colleagues followed me, confused but supportive. One of them asked if I was okay. "I'm perfect," I said. And I meant it. That was 5 years ago. Today, I'm 33 years old. I'm a senior vice president at my company. I'm being considered for a C-suite position. My husband David and I are expecting our first child. We bought a bigger house last year to prepare for our growing family. We have amazing friends. We have David's family who loves me like their own. We have a life filled with joy and purpose and love. My biological family has tried to contact me many times over the years. They send cards. They send emails. They show up at my office. They want back in my life now that they see I'm successful. Now that I'm someone they can be proud of. Now that I'm useful to them. I don't respond. I don't engage. I moved on. Some people tell me I should forgive them. That family is important. That everyone makes mistakes. But those people don't understand. My family didn't make a mistake. They showed me who they really were. They showed me that their love was conditional. Based on what I could do for them. Based on how impressive I seemed. Based on whether I met their standards. That's not love. That's not family. Real love doesn't disappear when someone is ordinary. Real family doesn't tell you that nobody needs you. Real belonging doesn't require you to constantly prove your worth. I found that real love with David. With his family. With my chosen friends. With the life I built for myself. And I'm never going back to the people who made me feel invisible. I share this story because I know there are people out there who feel unseen in their families. People who feel like they're never quite good enough. People who are always trying to earn love that should be freely given. I want you to know something important. You don't have to keep trying. You don't have to keep proving yourself to people who refuse to see your value. You can walk away. You can build your own life. You can create your own family from people who actually appreciate you. It's not easy. It hurts. There are moments when you miss what you wish your family could be. But you cannot make people value you. You cannot force people to see your worth. All you can do is see it yourself. Believe in yourself. Build a life that reflects your true value. And surround yourself with people who celebrate you, not just tolerate you. When my parents said nobody needs you, they thought they were pointing out my insignificance. Instead, they freed me. They freed me from the burden of trying to matter to people who would never let me matter. They freed me to find people who needed me, valued me, loved me for exactly who I was. So I smiled that night. And I walked away. And I built something beautiful. Something they never expected. Something they'll never be part of. And I've never been happier. Thank you for listening to my story.